SUVs are supposed to be built tough, big engines, family-friendly, dependable for the long haul. In America, most buyers expect to keep them well past 100,000 miles with nothing more than routine servicing. But here's the ugly truth: some SUVs don't even make it that far. Engines seize, transmissions collapse, cooling systems overheat, and it all happens long before the odometer hits 6 figures. And these aren't obscure models nobody buys. They're popular SUVs sitting in thousands of driveways right now, the ones families thought were safe bets. Instead, they turn into financial nightmares, draining wallets with repair bills, insurance hikes, and resale values that fall off a cliff. I'm counting down 10 SUVs that look reliable on the outside but are ticking time bombs under the hood. And wait until you hear about number 5. Some of those engines don't just fail early. They collapse at barely half the mileage most families expect. So let's dive in, and we're starting with a name every American family knows. On the surface, it looks like the ultimate road trip machine, but underneath, it hides one of the most expensive repair traps on the market. I'm talking about the Ford Explorer, America's family SUV that breaks before the kids even finish school. The Ford Explorer has been a household name for decades, big, practical, and marketed as the perfect family hauler. But here's the problem. Too many Explorers can't even make it to 100,000 miles without falling apart. The number one killer? The transmission. Owners report violent shifting, slipping gears, and sudden breakdowns, and these failures don't happen after years of abuse. No, many Explorers lose their gearboxes at just 40,000 to 60,000 miles, when most families still expect the SUV to feel practically new. A replacement can set you back anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000, often more than the vehicle's resale value by that point. And it doesn't end there. The EcoBoost engines, especially the 2.3-liter and 3.0-liter V6, are notorious for coolant leaks, overheating, and blown head gaskets. Once that happens, you're staring down a $6,000 to $10,000 engine replacement. Add in electrical gremlins like frozen touchscreens and glitchy cameras, and the Explorer quickly goes from family favorite to financial nightmare. On the used market, they look like bargains, cheap enough to tempt you. But once the repairs start, many owners find themselves upside down on their auto loans, paying more for fixes than the SUV is even worth. Nissan Pathfinder, the family SUV that forgets how to drive. On paper, the Nissan Pathfinder should have been the perfect alternative to a Toyota Highlander or a Honda Pilot. Big, comfortable, and affordable. For years, families bought them thinking they were making a smart, reliable choice. But under the hood, a nightmare that starts far earlier than most drivers ever expect. The culprit is Nissan's CVT transmission. Instead of delivering smooth, efficient driving like it promised, the Pathfinder's gearbox is one of the weakest ever fitted to a mainstream SUV. Owners describe the same pattern over and over: a high-pitched whining, jerky acceleration, slipping under load, and then total failure. And here's the kicker. It often happens between 60,000 and 90,000 miles. That's way before most families even think about major repairs. And when it goes, you don't repair a CVT, you replace it. Expect a bill in the $4,000 to $6,000 range. But here's the cruel irony. Even if you replace it, the new unit often fails again because it has the same weak design. That means some owners end up paying twice for the same problem. Nissan did extend warranties in certain markets, but plenty of drivers found themselves stranded just outside coverage, left footing the entire bill. And on the used market, the story's even worse. Pathfinders look cheap, almost too cheap. Mechanics know why. They're ticking time bombs, and extended warranties are practically a requirement if you dare to buy one. Jeep Cherokee. It should have been rugged, but instead it guzzles oil like a two-stroke. On paper, the Jeep Cherokee looked like the perfect midsize SUV. Bold styling, family-friendly space, and a badge tied to decades of off-road heritage. But under the hood, the 2.4-liter Tiger Shark engine turned it into one of the most disappointing SUVs you can buy. The flaw? Severe oil consumption. Many owners report losing nearly a quart every 1,000 miles or less. That means constant top-offs just to keep the engine alive. Miss even one, and the damage starts fast. Piston rings wear, cylinders score, and before long, the engine is on the verge of seizing. And it doesn't stop there. These engines are also notorious for head gasket failures, rough idling, and sudden stalls, sometimes at low speeds or even while stuck in traffic. These aren't rare cases. They're common failures that leave drivers stranded and furious. The financial hit is brutal. A rebuild or replacement engine runs anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000, often more than the SUV is worth once it's sitting on the used market. That's why resale values are in the gutter and why dealers avoid them like the plague. The Cherokee had potential, but with such a fragile heart, it's less of a family SUV and more of a financial trap on wheels. Chevrolet Equinox, the SUV that drinks oil faster than it drinks fuel. On the outside, the Chevy Equinox looks like a safe, no-nonsense family car, affordable, practical, and one of the best-selling SUVs in America. But under the hood, the Equinox hides a fatal flaw. Its 2.4-liter Ecotec engine is infamous for excessive oil consumption. Owners report burning a quart of oil every 1,000 miles or less, and if you miss even one top-up, the engine starts eating itself alive. Piston rings fail, cylinders score, and before you know it, the entire engine seizes. These failures don't wait until high mileage either. Many happen before 80,000 miles, when most families expect nothing more than basic maintenance. A replacement engine? That'll run you $4,000 to $6,000. And here's the kicker: plenty of owners replace it, only to face the same issue again. Add in common problems with timing chains and head gaskets, and the Equinox quickly turns from a budget SUV into a financial nightmare. The used market reflects this ugly truth. Equinoxes are everywhere, priced cheap, but smart buyers avoid them like the plague. Once billed as a dependable family hauler, today it's more of a driveway ornament waiting for its next engine failure. Jaguar I-Pace, the electric vehicle that kills your wallet faster than its battery dies. When Jaguar launched the I-Pace, it was hailed as a revolution. Sleek styling, futuristic tech, and a British badge going head-to-head with Tesla. For a moment, it looked like the UK had built the ultimate electric SUV, but in reality, it's become one of the costliest mistakes you can buy used. The Achilles heel is the battery. In an electric vehicle, the pack is everything, and in the I-Pace, it fails far too often, sometimes well before 100,000 miles. Owners report rapid range loss, charging glitches, and even total shutdowns. And when the pack dies, replacement costs are staggering, anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000. That's often more than the car's resale value. It gets worse. Drivers report charging systems that overheat, warning lights flashing at random, and even situations where the car refuses to restart after plugging in at a public charger. For a luxury electric vehicle, that's unacceptable, and it leaves owners stranded and furious. Then there's the depreciation. While Teslas tend to hold value, the I-Pace collapses. These SUVs lose over 65% of their value in just 3 years. Dealers can't move them. Financing traps buyers underwater, and used models often sit unsold for months. Volvo XC90, the luxury SUV that forgot how to age. Volvo has long been known for safety and durability, and the XC90 was supposed to carry that legacy into the SUV era. Families loved its spacious cabin, high-tech features, and Swedish badge of trust. But for too many owners, the dream ended early, sometimes well before 100,000 miles. The main issue? Transmission failure. Early XC90s are notorious for their gearboxes giving out between 65,000 and 90,000 miles. Drivers report harsh shifting, slipping gears, and sudden breakdowns that leave the SUV stranded. Replacing that transmission will cost you $5,000 to $7,000, often more than the SUV is worth once it hits the used market. And it doesn't stop there. The XC90 is infamous for electrical chaos, failing infotainment systems, glitchy sensors, random warning lights, and power windows that suddenly quit working. For a so-called luxury SUV, it feels more like an expensive lottery ticket. You never know what will break next. Depreciation adds insult to injury. A vehicle that cost over $50,000 new can sink below $10,000 once buyers learn about the repair bills. Range Rover Evoke. Prestige on the outside, chaos under the hood. The Evoke was designed to be the stylish entry point into the Land Rover family. Sleek looks, luxury badge, and the prestige of Range Rover ownership without the bulk of a full-size SUV. And it worked. The Evoke sold like crazy, becoming a bestseller across the UK and even making waves in the US. But peel back that glamour and you'll find one of the least reliable SUVs money can buy. At the heart of the problem is the 2.0-liter petrol engine, notorious for overheating and cooling system failures. Owners report sudden spikes in temperature with almost no warning, leading to warped cylinder heads or, in the worst cases, a total engine seizure. When that happens, you're not repairing the Evoke. You're replacing the engine. Expect a bill in the $7,000 to $10,000 range. The financial impact? Brutal. A car that cost over $50,000 new can now be found for well under $20,000. Sounds like a bargain, until you realize why. Dealers struggle to move them, and depreciation hammers owners who thought they were buying into prestige. Dodge Journey, the SUV that was supposed to be affordable family transport, but ended up being a money pit on wheels. On paper, the Dodge Journey looked like a bargain. 3 rows of seating, a low sticker price, and plenty of space for families on a budget. But in reality, it's one of the most short-lived SUVs you can buy. The biggest culprit? The transmission. Owners report slipping gears, violent jerks, and total failures, often happening as early as 60,000 to 80,000 miles. Replacement costs run between $3,500 and $5,000, a brutal hit for a vehicle that was marketed as affordable. And the engines don't fare much better. The 2.4-liter 4-cylinder is notorious for blown head gaskets and oil leaks, while the V6 guzzles fuel and still suffers from premature timing chain wear. Add in electrical glitches, failing air conditioners, and suspension issues, and the Journey quickly feels like a vehicle designed to quit early. On the used market, Journeys are everywhere, priced dirt cheap. But that's because mechanics and dealers know the truth. Once you hit 100,000 miles, keeping one alive often costs more than the SUV itself is worth. The GMC Acadia, the SUV that promises comfort but delivers breakdowns. The GMC Acadia was marketed as a reliable midsize family hauler, with plenty of space and that professional-grade GMC badge. But too many owners learned the hard way that this SUV wasn't built to last. The number one problem, the transmission. Acadias are infamous for slipping, hard shifts, and sudden failures, often before 90,000 miles. Replacing the gearbox can cost $4,000 to $6,000, and in some cases, it fails again within just a few years. Then there's the engine. The 3.6-liter V6 is plagued with timing chain wear, sometimes stretching or breaking before the SUV even sees 80,000 miles. That leads to catastrophic engine damage and a repair bill north of $6,000. Add in electrical issues, steering failures, and water pump leaks, and the Acadia becomes a financial nightmare for families who thought they were buying peace of mind. Depreciation only makes things worse. A vehicle that cost over $40,000 new can drop below $10,000 once it hits the used market, and buyers still walk away once they research the repair history. Land Rover Discovery Sport, the SUV that destroyed more family budgets than any other. On the surface, the Discovery Sport looked like the perfect package: British styling, a luxury badge, and the promise of practicality wrapped in prestige. But under the hood, it's hiding one of the worst reliability records in the entire SUV market. The problem starts with Land Rover's Ingenium engines. They're infamous for oil dilution, stretched timing chains, failing turbos, and in countless cases, complete engine seizure, sometimes well before 80,000 miles. One day it's running fine. The next, you're staring at a dash lit up like a Christmas tree, and days later, you're told you need a brand new engine. That repair will set you back $8,000 to $12,000, often more than the SUV is worth by then. But the pain doesn't stop there. Discovery Sports are plagued with gearbox failures, frozen infotainment screens, reversing cameras cutting out, and sensors that quit at random. Add it all together, and you get an SUV that strands families as often as it carries them. And then there's depreciation. From over $50,000 new, many now trade for under $20,000. And even at that price, buyers hesitate. Dealers struggle to sell them, mechanics warn against them, and forums are filled with regretful owners who poured thousands into endless repairs. And that's the brutal reality. 10 SUVs that simply don't survive the test of time. They look dependable in the showroom, but before 100,000 miles, they turn into money pits, draining wallets with blown engines, failing transmissions, and resale values that fall off a cliff. The lesson here is simple. Reliability beats reputation. A fancy badge or a low sticker price might tempt you, but long-term costs can destroy your budget faster than you think. So, let me ask you, have you been burned by one of these SUVs? Or do you know someone who poured thousands into repairs before hitting that 100,000 mark? Share your story in the comments. It could save another driver from the same mistake. And if you want more brutally honest breakdowns like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for the next video.